Hey guys, it's Brooke. Welcome back to my channel. Today's tutorial is going to be for my summer wave top, just a simple single crochet colorwork top that I actually would really recommend for beginners. So let's get started. So starting off with yarn, I ended up using Hobby's Friends Cotton in 8/6. I really loved using this yarn. For this top, you're going to use a 3.5 millimeter hook, and your gauge is going to be 23 rows of 22 single crochets, and it's going to end up being 4 by 4 inches. So I'm going to start off by just going through some of the measurements so you can visually see what the measurements are going to look like on the top. So first we've got the top length. The length of the top, self-explanatory, is just going to be this. And then you're going to have the total width of the top. The total width is going to include all the way through the strap section. Then the panel width of the top is going to be just this front section, basically your chest, armpit to armpit. And then your strap stitches, I'm going to list out for each graph how many stitches by how many rows the straps are. And then I also have a measurement for the decrease size. So that decrease size is going to be from the front of your body through your armpit going into the strap section. So you can see how big that decrease section is going to be for you. So now on to the important questions. How do you decide what top's meant for you? You're going to start by taking a few measurements. Your first measurement is going to be the length of the top. So essentially what I would do is I would measure from the basically top of your boob all the way till you hit basically your rib cage right underneath your boob. So that measurement for me was about 6.5 inches. Now, what I would do when picking your top is look at one of the sizes, see how long it is, and measure that up to your body because you want to keep in mind that even though your measurement might be 6 inches, I ended up making a top that was 7 inches long because we all know boobs tend to eat fabric a little bit. So you want to give yourself an extra inch, maybe an extra 2 or 3 inches, depending on how big your bust size is, in order to make sure this top is going to adequately cover you. Along with that, I would just double check on the decrease measurement. For all of these tops, the decrease size is going to be less than 5 inches, so it should be fine. Basically, the goal is to have the decrease section only be on your side, so that when you're looking at the back of the top, it's just strap, and when you're looking at the front of the top, it's just top. Okay, so now I'm going to pause and give y'all a second to really look through the size chart in order to pick out your size. Again, the most important measurement, in my opinion, is the length of the top because the width is completely customizable. You can add extra chains to your strap if you need it. Or if you're kind of stuck between a few sizes, what you could do is just do a single chain and then a couple rows of single crochets of the top that you think you might make and then see how well it covers you. I also want to mention that the graph portion of the straps, so the part of the straps that has color work on them, isn't going to cover your entire back. Essentially, what I did for my top is I had a few inches of color work for the straps, and then the rest of the straps were just solid. So I did the same thing for y'all's graphs. So, for example, the smallest size only has 7 inches of color work strap, and then it goes up half an inch for each size. So it's going to be 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5. So keep that in mind that you'll be able to tell from my measurements how long your total top will be, straps and panel included. And you'll just need to figure out for you how many extra rows of plain single crochets you'll need for your straps to fully tie in the back. So now let's talk about the fun part, the graph. So for those of you who have done color work before, usually for graphs, you're reading left to right or right to left, and you're going vertically up the graph. So for this graph, it's going to be a little bit different. I have the top displayed flat. So instead of reading left to right and right to left, you're going to be reading down, up, and down, up. Also, this pattern is going to work great for both lefties and righties. So if you're a lefty, don't worry, I'm a lefty too. So this pattern is going to work great for you, and same for the righties. Let's talk about Stitch Fiddle. So the graphs that I used to make this top are from stitchfiddle.com. I'm going to link them below. There are a couple ways you can look at these graphs and work up this top. First off, you can click on the link, and Stitch Fiddle has something called a progress tracker. It'll highlight the row that you're working on, so you can just focus on that row and keep going. Along with that, you can also download it and you can print out the graph and you can hand mark out the rows as you go. I know that's like a fan favorite. Lots of people like doing that. I prefer the progress tracker. It's really whatever you think. Along with that, you can also save a copy of the chart and make it your own. So if you kind of want to change the colors a little bit, or if you want to change the way the swirls work, you want to add some rows, you want to make it a little longer, you want to make the decrease portion smaller or bigger, whatever you want, you can save a copy and then edit it yourself. And that's totally fine with me. I really encourage whoever's making this top to really make it your own. I really hope that if y'all make this top, please send me some pictures because I really want to see how cute they'll look on y'all. In my first top draft, I didn't have straps on it. I just have the tie in the back, but I'll show you how to add some straps just as an alternative option because I know some of y'all out there got big boobs. Like, thankfully, my back strap's fine, but I know some of you will want straps, so I added that in this video as well. All right, so now we're ready to get started. Like I said earlier, I'm using Hobby Friends Cotton 86, and I've got the colors 14, 9, 89, and 98. And I'm going to be using a 3.5 millimeter hook. This one's from Clover. I do want to mention for this tutorial, I'm not going to start with any of the extra strap that's not in the graph. I'm going to start straight with the graph, and if you need extra strap at the end, I'm going to show you how to add your yarn back onto your strap to add some extra rows to give you some more width so that it'll give you more room to tie in the back. Okay, so now I'm ready to get started. You're going to start on the left side of your graph, and I'm just going to have it pulled up while I do this. I'm not going to be able to go through every single size and every single graph just because that would take a very long time. So I'm going to show you a few rows for the medium, and then I'll have the graphs listed below so you can follow along. So for the medium, I'm going to start off with single crocheting 11. All right, there are my 11 chains, and now I'm going to start single crocheting down. So for this first row, I had to do 6 single crochets, and then I work onto the beige. So I'm about to do my 6 right now. So I'm going to show you how to color change. Also, I want to mention that I am going to the back bumps for single crocheting, just how I prefer to do it. If you prefer to go into the front side of your chain, you can do that too, whatever works. So now let's change colors. I'm going to insert my hook into the chain, yarn over, pull through, and now we're going to work on bringing in the beige. So I want to mention that for this graph, the odd rows are right side facing you, and the even rows are wrong side facing you. So because this is right side facing me, I'm going to put my yarn on the back side here, and I'm going to grab my beige yarn. Now again, because this is the right side, I'm going to have my tails on the back here. So what some people do is they make a slip knot and they insert it around your hook. I don't like to do that. So all I do is just kind of place my tail back here with my teal tail, and I just take my fingers and pinch it on the chain so it won't move. And now I'm just going to yarn over, and I'm going to pull through. And that's how I change colors. I do want to mention that the first time adding a color is always the hardest. So if you can get through this, you'll be fine for the rest of it. So now I need to single crochet in the rest of these chains. So I'm going to insert my hook, single crochet as normal, and I'm also going to be working over this beige tail as I go. All right, and that is the end of row 1. So let's explain right and wrong side for a second. Your wrong side is going to be this side. It's going to be where maybe you've got some yarn ends sticking out, you're working over your yarn like this, and you just want to keep it consistent because if you accidentally mix up your right and wrong sides, you're going to have yarn ends on both sides of the project and it's not going to look nice. So as I did with the first one, we're just making sure that row 1, the odd rows are right side facing me so they look neat and tidy. And the wrong sides are going to have these ends poking out and we don't have to worry about that. So now we're starting row 2. And I don't like to chain between my rows. If you'd like to, go for it, chain away. I don't. So I'm just going to quite literally turn my work. I'm going to single crochet into this first stitch. And I'm going to work over this tail I've got here. I'm going to do 3 single crochets. And this is the last one. So I need to change colors here. Insert, yarn over, pull through. And now we're on the wrong side of our work because we're on an even row. So I'm going to place my yarn end over here in front. I'm going to pick up my teal right here, and I'm going to finish my stitch. All right, and that's what it looks like. And now I'm going to single crochet into this next beige stitch here. And I'm going to single crochet teal all the way across, and that's the end of our row. So this third row is going to be the same as the second row. So I'm just going to turn my work. I'm going to single crochet all the way down with my teal. And I'm going to work to change colors here. Insert, yarn over, pull through. And I'm going to drop my yarn on this side because now we're right side facing me. And I'm going to pick up my beige. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull through. Now, as you can see, I accidentally left this yarn end on the incorrect side because it's supposed to be the wrong side. So what I could do is I could just cut it right here, or I could try to work it through and make it seem seamless. But if I do that, you're going to see it pull. So I'm just going to leave it there and cut it off. Mistakes happen. a single crochet through the rest of the row. And that's the end of row 3. But I want to talk about the graph a little bit. Because the graph is so big and because there are so many stitches in this, please don't be afraid to make a mistake. Making a mistake is fine. Like in a bunch of these rows, I could be off by 1, I could be off by 2. It doesn't really make a difference. So it doesn't have to be perfect is my point. Because there are so many stitches, you're not going to notice a few mistakes here or there. The final product is still going to look great. So just do the best you can. Don't stress out. I know color work can be really stressful for people because they're afraid of making a mistake. But with a project like this that has such small stitches, don't worry about it. It's going to look great no matter what. All right, now we're starting row 4. So I'm going to turn my work. And now I've only got 2 single crochets of the beige to do. So I'm going to do 1. And on this second one, I'm going to prepare to color change. So insert yarn over, pull through. I'm going to keep my yarn on the wrong side here. So now we're on an even row, so we're wrong side facing me. I'm going to pick up the teal. I'm going to pull it over. So I want to talk about my technique when I do this. It's going to look a little scary, right? Because I've just pulled this yarn from basically 2 stitches over, and I've got this beige here, but the stitch that we need to go into is right here. There's still a stitch there. So I would just turn it to the top, and look, you can still see it right here. So don't be afraid. It gets kind of messy sometimes when you do this, and there's probably a better way than the way I do it, but you know, whatever. Insert, I'm going to single crochet like normal. And on this row, I've actually got to start adding a second color. I've got to add the navy. It's going to be the last stitch here. So I'm going to work all the way until 3 stitches from the end, and then I'm going to show you all how to add the navy. All right, I just finished my 3rd stitch from the end. This last stitch needs to be navy, which means this needs to be our color changing stitch. So I'm going to insert, yarn over, pull through, and we're on row number 4. So this is going to be wrong side facing me. So I'm going to place my yarn here, and then I'm going to pick up my navy. I'm going to pin it there so it doesn't move, and I'm going to pull through with my navy. And that's how we color change. I'm going to single crochet in this one like normal. I do want to mention keeping track of your wrong and your right sides can be a little confusing at first because we don't have much yarn, but as you go it'll be much easier. You won't need to actually count your rows in order to determine if it's wrong or right side. You'll just be able to visually tell, and we can already kind of start seeing that take place. Like this is much nicer than this. Now I'm going to turn my work, start my next row, single crochet once in this first stitch, and that's the only navy I need. When I single crochet, I'm going to go over my tail too. I'm going to pull through, and because this is the only navy stitch, I need to change colors here. So I'm going to pick up my teal, and yarn over, I'm going to pull through, and now I'm going to work teal until the 4th to last stitch because I'm going to have to color change again at the end of this row. Okay, I just finished my 4th to last stitch, so now I need to color change here because I'm going to have 2 beige at the end. Insert, yarn over, pull through. Now I'm going to pick up my beige from the other side. Pull through with my beige. I'm going to finish the row. All right, so the rest of the strap is going to be basically the same. So I'm going to do the rest of it off camera until I get to the increasing portion where we're getting ready for the front panel. So I can show y'all then how to increase while also doing color changes, because that's when it gets a little more difficult. And you can see as you set them side to side that it's working up quite nicely, just like the original top. And you can also see that my tension is a little looser. So I'm going to have to tighten that up as I keep going. I do want to mention a good trick when you're doing color work. So this is what I do if, say, I'm adding 2, 3, 4 navy colors and I don't want to do what I said earlier where I just quite literally pull it all the way across because, you know, it leaves this big line of yarn, which is kind of confusing sometimes. So if I don't want to do that, what I'll do is I'll preemptively move my navy over the stitch where I need to work right now, and I'll just work over that so that when I change my color and I switch to the navy, my yarn is right here and it's ready to go. And that's a strategy I would recommend, again, if you're adding 2, 3, 4 stitches, so that you can just have it right where you need it and you don't have to pull it so far. And you also can't see it on the other side. Okay, so here's what my strap looks like so far. I'm getting ready to start my first increase row. So this is going to be my last stitch. And now this row is going to be my first increase row. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert 2 single crochets into this first stitch. And now I'm going to keep going on this row like normal. And now I'm going to change colors here. And keep single crocheting throughout the row. Now I'm going to insert 2 single crochets in my last stitch. And this is going to be the increase pattern for every single size. Essentially, when you get to that point, to the increase section, you're just going to be doing your color work like normal, but you're going to insert 2 single crochets in the first and last stitch of every single row until you have the correct width for your front panel. I do recommend adding a stitch marker to your first row of increases because as you keep increasing, you may want to start counting your rows, but because our stitches are so tiny, it's kind of hard to see where the first increase row is. So definitely recommend adding a stitch marker there. So now I'm going to turn my work, start the next row where I'm going to again insert 2 single crochets here. I'm going to keep going as normal. I need to add 2 more of the orange here, so I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to change colors. Keep going as normal, and in this last stitch, I'm going to again insert 2 single crochets. 1, 2. That row is done. I'm going to turn my work, insert 2 single crochets in the first stitch. Change colors. Keep going and then insert 2 single crochets in the last stitch. Last stitch is always hard to do tension wise. It's always a little snug. So this is what it's going to start looking like. You can see we're starting to add stitches. We're going to add 2 stitches per row, an increase on each end, and it's going to keep growing until we get to our front panel. And while you do this, you're just going to keep doing your color changing like normal. I'm getting ready to add another color, so I'm just going to show you all how I do that real quick. So I'm finishing this stitch and I'm going to get my navy yarn ready. I'm going to pinch it behind like I do normally. I'm going to pull that through. And sometimes I do when I'm adding a new color. Sometimes I will chain because I feel like it makes it a little more secure, but I don't do it every single time. I'm not very consistent, so whatever, do whatever you like. So now I'm going to add a single crochet here of my navy. And because I need to change colors again, I'm going to drop the navy. I'm going to pick up my orange. I'm going to pull through. If it's too difficult for you to change colors on the first stitch of a row, feel free to add it to the row below, the last stitch on the row below. It won't make a difference, I promise. So now, because I'm on an increased stitch, I have to add an orange to that same stitch where the navy is. And now I can keep going like normal. And that's what it'll look like. So this is what it looks like when you add a different color for the first stitch of the row. Again, if this is too difficult, feel free to add it to the row before. Just feel free to, adjust this pattern to your needs and your experience with color work. I just wanted to show myself working this row because this row has a lot of color changes. We started off with an increase, of course. I'm gonna have a total of 4 beige stitches. So I just did my third and now I'm gonna do my fourth. I'm gonna prepare to swap to my navy. And I'm gonna do many navy stitches. Now I'm on my last navy stitch, so I'm going to prepare to change colors. There. Now I'm going to do my orange stitches. Now I've got 1 more orange stitch, so I'm going to prepare to change colors here. And now I'm going to finish out the row. And of course, as always, I'm going to finish with an increase. And now I'm going to keep doing my increases until I get to the front panel and I'll come back. All right, this is what the increased portion looks like, and now I'm ready to start the body. So now at this point, we're going to stop increasing each row. When we turn, we're just going to insert one single crochet into every stitch. Hey guys, Editing Brooke here. I'm just here to let you know that the row you're about to watch me work on, I actually did incorrectly. It's an odd row, which means I was supposed to work from top to bottom, but I accidentally worked it from bottom to top, which means that I just most likely repeated a row beforehand. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. The top came out fine. This is another reminder. In a top like this with so much color work, your top's going to come out fine. It's okay to make mistakes. Don't worry. Now I'm getting ready to change colors. I'm going to put my teal on the back side. I'm going to pick up my beige, change color, keep going. I'm going to do the same with my beige. Pick up my navy, going. Now I'm going to change colors to my orange. Keep going. I'm going to get ready to change colors to my teal again. So this is what my top looks like so far. At this point, you're just going to keep repeating the rows until we get to the other side where we're going to be doing the decrease portions. I'll come back at that point. I also would recommend the first time you reach a full row, the largest that your top is going to be, I would really recommend counting your stitches to make sure you have the right amount, because it's really easy when you're increasing to accidentally put too little or too many increases. So you want to make sure you have the right amount of stitches for the length of your top. All right, so I've just finished the main section of my body panel, and now I'm getting ready to start my decrease portion. So let's get into it. So this decrease section is going to be the same really as the increase section. You're going to be doing your color work as normal, but instead of adding a stitch on each end for every row, you're going to be decreasing and losing a stitch on each end every single row until you get back to the thickness that your strap is supposed to be. So I'm currently finishing up the last row of just normal single crochets. And now this next row is going to be my first decrease row. And again, as with the increases, I really recommend adding a stitch marker to your first decrease row. It'll just make it easier for you to keep track. So now we're going to be starting our first decrease. So this is how you're going to work a decrease. You're going to start your single crochet by inserting, yarn over, pull through. And then you're going to insert again, yarn over, pull through. And now you're going to have 3 loops on your hook, and you're going to pull through all 3, and that's going to be your decrease. So I'm going to show y'all how to do that again, and we actually have to change colors on this stitch too, so I'm going to show you how to do all of it all together. So I'm going to insert into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through, and now I'm going to insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and because I have to change colors, I'm going to grab my other color, and I'm going to yarn over with that new color and pull through all 3, and that's going to be my first decrease. And now I'm just going to single crochet like normal through this row. So I have to do an entire row of this beige. So I'm just going to do that real quick. All right, so now I'm at the end of the row and it's time to do another decrease. I'm going to insert my hook into this stitch, yarn over, pull through, insert my hook into the last stitch of the row, yarn over, pull through, and now I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. That's going to be my decrease. Now I'm going to turn my work and I'm going to start the next row. I'm going to start with another decrease. So I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, insert my hook, yarn over, pull through. Now I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And now I'm going to keep going on the row as normal. And I'm going to come back to show you the decrease at the other end of the row. All right, now I'm nearing the end of this row. So I'm going to get ready to set up my decrease. I'm going to move my stitch marker. And now I'm going to set up my decrease. So I'm going to insert, yarn over, pull through, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3, and then I'm going to put my stitch marker back so I can keep track of my first decrease row. Now I'm going to turn my work and get started on the next row. So the decrease rows are just going to be the same structure. You're just going to be doing the color work of the graph like normal, but you're also going to be decreasing in every single row on each end until you get to the same amount of stitches that your strap is supposed to have as it did on the other side. So yeah, just keep decreasing and I'll come back once I'm back to the strap. All right, so now I'm finishing up my last decrease row, and with my last decrease, I'm done. And what I would do at this point when you hit your last decrease row is to count and make sure you have the correct amount of stitches. For me, I had an extra, and so I had to do an extra decrease. But you know, that's pretty much normal. I'm not one to frog my decrease rows and find where the mistake was, so I just added it in the middle of my row because life's too short to be frogging projects over something so small. So at this point, I'm just going to keep doing my normal strap rows based on my graph, and I'm going to work on those until the graph is done. And at that point, I'll come back to you to show how to add extra rows for extra strap length so that you can tie it comfortably. So at this point, I've finished the graph section of my strap. Now, what I would recommend doing is holding the entire top up to your body and measuring, wrapping the straps around you to see about how many inches of extra strap you'll need. Essentially, what I do at this point is I start just doing a bunch of rows of single crochets in one of the colors, and I continue doing these rows until I have enough strap to tie around my back. So that's what I would recommend doing, measuring it around yourself, then adding rows of just solid single crochets until you have enough strap that fits you. I think for my original top, I added about 6 extra inches on each side. Okay, so I ended up adding just a few extra inches of single crochets for these straps, and now I'm going to show you how to add an extra strap around the neckline. So I've just finished my last row of single crochets for my strap, and now essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 single crochets in this corner stitch. Just put 1, and now I'm going to put 2 in order to turn my work so I can start single crocheting down the side of my strap. You're going to put 1 single crochet in each row of single crochets from your strap. So it's going to end up looking like that. And you're just going to do that all the way down your top. The one negative of adding an extra strap around the neckline is that you actually do have to identify a top and bottom of your top. So what I'm going to do is flip mine around and I'm going to say that this is the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep doing my single crochet rows all the way down the top, all the way down this strap, around this strap, and all the way up here until you get to the first top corner. And when you do, I'll show you how to add the strap at that point. So yeah, single crochets all the way around. When you hit a corner, you'll put 2 single crochets in that corner. Pretty simple. I'll get back to you when I hit the first of my 2 top corners so I can show you how the strap works. So I've just single crocheted all the way around the bottom of my top, all the way around this strap, and now I'm at the top corner. And now we're just going to make a simple strap. And what we're going to do is we're going to chain a certain amount and then slip stitch back down that chain. Then we're going to single crochet across this side and then do the same thing over here. Single crochet all the way down and connect it to the single crochet at the beginning. So it's pretty simple. I haven't decided how many chains I want to do yet. I'm probably going to do around 100 and then see. This is completely up to you how short, how long you want the chain to be. So I'm just going to come back once my chain is done and show you how to start slip stitching down the chain. Okay, so for the strap, I ended up having to do 110 chains. So now all we're going to do is slip stitch down the chain. So same with how I started the top, I like to work through the back bumps of my chain. So I'm just going to slip stitch all the way down. And if you're kind of struggling with the tension of this, if it's a little too tight, you can always size up for your chain to make it a little easier and to make your strap a little thicker. But that's all we're going to do. I'm going to slip stitch all the way down this chain and I'm going to come back to show you how to start working across the top. Okay, now I'm doing the last few slip stitches of my chain, and now I'm going to single crochet into the same stitch in that corner, that same stitch where I started the chain from. And that's going to be my strap. And now I'm going to continue just single crocheting across the top, and I'm going to do the same thing on this strap. I'll come back when I'm there. I've now made it to the other corner, so I'm just going to insert my last single crochet, and I'm going to do the same exact thing as I did with the other strap. So I'm going to start off by chaining 110, and then I'm going to slip stitch all the way down. Okay, now I'm finishing the slip stitches on my chain for my second strap. And as I did with the strap before, I'm going to single crochet into the same stitch that started the strap. And now I'm going to continue single crocheting all the way down until I reach my first single crochet from the border. All right, I just reached the end of my row, so all I'm going to do is slip stitch to the first single crochet of the border, chain 1, cut my yarn, and that's it. Now I just need to go through and weave in some of my ends, but that is the finished top. I want to thank y'all so much for watching and supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. As a reminder, if you make one of these, please send me a picture. Please tag me because I'd love to see your finished product. Also, if you're a left-handed crocheter, please check out my channel because all my videos are left-handed friendly, as I am obviously a left-handed crocheter. Thanks, y'all!